Welcome back inside the studio. Sports Desk basketball analyst MikeeRreyes. Mikee is here to break down that UP Ateneo game. Hi, Mikes, and also the other games, but we'll do that later. Mikes, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Busy weekend for you. Busy weekend. And, okay, so Mikee, sabi mo nung tinanong kita nung Friday, your heart says UP, but your mind says Ateneo, and Ateneo it is by a big margin, 89-63. Did you expect though? Parang hindi ko maalala pinag-usapan natin na blowout to.
I was expecting an Ateneo win, even though when I was there, we were both there. I was cheering for UP, obviously. Hindi ko lang pinapakita, pero I was expecting an Ateneo win, but I didn't expect like this much.
Expect mo close game.
Mas dikitan lang at least.
So what happened, Mikes? Anong nangyari? Because in the first, I have to admit, it was kumbaga yung atmosphere, diba? Championship atmosphere. Tapos nung first quarter, UP was up. So this is, I really personally thought this is going to be a good game.
Diba? Because UP had that 6-point lead finishing the first quarter, and just the crowd was behind the UP Fighting Maroons. At yung gitna nga ng first quarter and second quarter, it was crazy. You know, Universidad ng Pilipinas was playing. But, you know, that first quarter for UP, they like to pound the ball down low. They had 12 points in the paint in that first quarter. Javi came off the bench, quick 7 points. Richie came off the bench, quick 4 points. But Richie already scored 2 points na lang in the rest of the 3 quarters. So, medyo nalamangan nila ng konti ang Ateneo. But when Ateneo locked down in the second, the third, and the fourth, it was actually plus 32.
Plus 30.
Plus 32 in the next 3 quarters. So, you know, it was really that first quarter na medyo nagulat siguro yung Ateneo with the kind of offense that UP brought, especially off the bench.
Okay, so the key there, of course, you said lock down, and let's go to the big man who always locks it down. And I also remember, Mikee did mention Friday, Ateneo averages around 7 blocks per game. Ange has 4 or 5. But Kwame had 7 blocks yesterday, Mikee. 19 points, 15 rebounds, 7 blocks for Ange Kwame. How big, literally and figuratively, is Kwame for Ateneo, especially manning that paint area? As evident as we saw yesterday at the game and also in the whole first round.
Well, obviously, he's the anchor of that team, whether on offense and defense, especially on defense. In the first round, good for 14 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, tied for second with Duanga of Adamson. He gets 5 blocks a game, which is equal to the whole Adamson team in terms of blocks per game. He has more blocks than the other 6 teams per game. So 5 blocks a game siya. So we're talking about the interior defense of Ateneo, led by Ange Kwame. This is what we said. This is their bread and butter. They will let you shoot from the outside. They're gonna pick their poison. They're gonna take that risk. Go ahead, shoot from the outside. But they will negate your inside scoring, which is number 1. That's the most points wherein UP gets offense from. And against UP, they limited them to 28 points in the paint. Ang average ng UP is 38. So that's 10 points less. And 12 points of that pa nga. 12 of those 28 points came in the first quarter. So after that, 16 na lang in the next 3 quarters. So that's a big factor why Ange Kwame is, you know, one of the best defenders, or maybe the best defender. And pinag-uusapan na lagi, kung wala naman si Ange dyan, mahina yung Ateneo. But then that argument is irrelevant because he's there and we have to live with that. And we have to figure out how to beat Ateneo with him down low.
Okay, and an interesting tidbit here from our very good friend, Mr. Pong Docanes, the Sultan of Stats. According to Pong, not a single Ateneo player scored more than 12 points in any game, 20 points that is, in any game in their first round sweep. So, ang matindi dito, wala pang nakaka-20 points in any game sa Ateneo. It's not that no one's capable in that team. We know 30 can score 20. Ange Kwame can score 20. Matt Nieto can score 20. But how scary is Ateneo looking at that first round sweep? No one has scored 20 points in a game.
Yeah, it's crazy to look at the top 10 scorers in the league, walang Atenista, and to think they swept the first round like what you said. But, you know, I get a lot of hate every time I say this, but Ateneo, even though with that 7-0 start or first round, is one of the worst shooting teams in the league. Not because they lack in talent, it's because minamalas pa sila, they're struggling from that side of the floor. But it's really their defense. And with that kind of ball movement na din, to look for those easy baskets. And these last 2 games, this explosion versus UP, that 85-point game against UE, nahanap na nila yung offense nila. It's basically like what Coach Tab Baldwin was saying, night and day. They're gonna slowly get that, and they're gonna slowly get that offense back. But with this kind of defense, then even though sinasabi ng teams na it's boring to watch because it's European basketball.
Fundamental, yeah.
San Antonio Spurs.
Yes.
If you don't really understand the game, you won't be able to appreciate it.
Tama.
So yeah, no highlights, no.
Hindi sexy panoorin
Hindi sexy, hindi. We're used to Filipino brand of basketball na isolation, one-on-one dribble moves. So this is really new to us and it's working. So what's there to fix for Ateneo?
What a first round that was. Let's go back first quickly to your checklist. Before the game, that UP Ateneo game, let's go to your checklist, Mikee,
Well,
really quick.
offensively for UP, we talked about 3 points wherein they get their points. Points in the paint, fast break points, and free throws. Check yung fast break points nila. They got 12 fast break points. Free throws nila, they had 22 attempts, making 16 of those. Pero they get the most of their points from the paint, and that's where Ateneo is good at. So I said, since masastop nila yung ilalim mo, you have to hit from the outside, which they failed to do. They were 3 of 15. Only 2 from Javi and 1 from Kobe. And defensively, we said, let Ateneo shoot from the outside. Ateneo actually shot 26% from the outside.
That's right.
So buhay ka doon. Kaya lang, 60% sila inside. So again, let them shoot from the outside and protect the paint. They failed to do that, and they failed to hit their outside shots as well.
And if you're the opposing team, you have to take your shots from the outside. And beat
Against
Ateneo.
Kwame, you have to take him from the outside.
At alam ko masyado pamaga, end of the first round pa lang. But do you think, Mikee, magkaroon tayo ng step ladder? Do you think Ateneo can keep this up 14-0?
I really believe that the one thing that can stop them is traffic. Kung hindi sila umabot dun sa game, because just how they're playing in this first round, and
So nandun.
really, it's easier said than done. You gotta hit shots from the outside and let them shoot from the outside. It's easier said than done, especially with all the weapons of Ateneo. So I can't really see right now who can beat them.
Not even UST? UST,
Unless
sabi mo
UST
nga,
can play better defense. Because they can bring their offense.
Yeah, they only lost by 1 point against
Yeah,
Ateneo.
they lost by 1 point against Ateneo, but they don't have a towering center down low to stop Ange
Because
Kwame.
UST might lose to other teams.
Yeah.
But
They can
if there's one
outscore
contrapelo team that can beat Ateneo, I think it's UST.
Because they have the offensive firepower, but they don't have the defense to defend the interior naman against Ateneo. So it'll be tough for UST, but if they bring out a 15 3-point game, 3-point field goal game, then who knows?
UST's losses were against Ateneo and La Salle. Also Adamson, do you think that UST can go all the way and keep this up also, retain that number 2 spot?
Well, actually, from the contenders, the 6 contending teams right now, UST ang pinaka-kinakabahan ako because
Kasi?
nasa scout na sila eh. I believe that hopefully they didn't peak too early. They started at 3-1. They lost 2 out of their last 3 games. A big loss to Adamson, a 0-16 finish for them. And then they lose again against. They had a 1 point. We're talking about Adamson. So UST, I think it's scary because sana lang hindi sila maubusan because they live off of that 3 ball. They live off of that offense. But I'm sure Coach Alden and I will make adjustments for the second round.
Okay, it's pinag-usapan natin, 'di ba? Ateneo nga 7-0, UP 5-2, UST is 4-3, and then FEU, La Salle, Adamson, logjam yan. 3 wins and 4 losses. It's a really tight race for that 4th spot. What do you think? Entering the second round now, of course, painit na yan, entering the Final Four. What do you think will happen here?
You know what? For these 3 teams, it's really just inconsistency between. For Adamson, they had convincing wins. They had a convincing win against UST. Again, that 16-0 blast to end the game to come back. But they lose to the LSU and FEU. And then they had a great game against UP. I mean, that's not in order, pero like, kita mo yung inconsistency ng Adamson. As for FEU, inconsistent then. You don't know which FEU team is gonna show up because they scored 39 points against NU. They lose that game by a lot. And then they get a convincing win against Adamson. So hindi mo alam anong FEU yung magpapakita. The same with La Salle, but I believe La Salle is starting to pick up. I've been harsh against with La Salle.
Yes.
But the one
You
thing...
have been.
But they're using their core now. Enzo Serrano last game with 29, Melesio with 26. Bartlett, the last 2 games, has had 20 minutes in both games, scoring 8 and then 7, and then the stability in that offense comes from Jordan Bartlett. So I believe La Salle will pick up.
How about Adamson, that Ahan-Misi, Falchauca, do you think that's better than the tandem we saw last year with Sean Manganti and Jeric Ahan-Misi?
Oh, well, I can't say. I mean, it's a different dynamic. This is two guards. Manganti average 15 and 5, Chauca 16, 4 and 4. But I think from the outside, obviously, Chauca has that three-point shot, and then Manganti is better off inside. But, you know, adjustment lang yan, especially with Lenda Duanga naman down there.
Okay, how about FEU? Sabi mo nga which FEU team will we see? Kasi they can be bad, they can also be so good. So, medyo so-so yung kanilang first round. Will you, kumbaga, do you think, or will you be surprised if they get that number 4 spot entering?
Well, I'd be surprised, not because FEU is not capable of doing that,
Yeah.
but because ibig sabihin bumagsak yung Adamson at saka yung Lasal. So doon ako mas magugulat
Okay.
pag pumasok yung FEU.
And of course, we're not discounting the two teams, UE and NU. They had a match over the weekend, which UE won. So what do you think of these two teams? Can they still, well, mathematically possible pa rin, but they can, after seeing the first round, kaya ba nila i-turn things around here in the second?
Well, I believe so.
NU
UE will continue to ride Rey Suerte and Alex Joquite, whom I believe is the second best import in the league right now. And then for NU, if they just really play defense, they get a win, they contain FEU to 39 points with 19% from the field, and then they went up against UE, finals game nila. Nag-score ng 78 points naman ng UE. So if they play defense, they really have a shot to turning things around.
Mike's, okay, first round done. Walang games Wednesday, Saturday tayo. Fearless forecast, as early as now, from the MikeeRreyes, former UP Fighting Maroon, analyst in the NCAA UAAP. I need your fearless forecast right now in the Final Four.
Ano, pa-iba-iba ako. Ateneo-UP will stay.
No. Ateneo will be
UP,
number 1.
Ateneo-UP.
Sweep o hindi?
Sweep.
Sweep, 14 and 0. Okay. Then UP,
UP will be, number 2.
3.
I gotta go with Adamson.
Ito yung crucial. 4.
4, UST ako ngayon. But yun nga eh.
Just give me that word. Bigyan mo kayo sa akin yung 4
I gotta
mo.
go back to Lasal kasi ang ganda na nilalaro nila ngayon.
Wow. So you think it will be a step ladder with Ateneo sweeping, step ladder with LaSalle and Adamson, and then UP at number 2.
Hirap
Why?
ng UAP ngayon.
Well, thank you, Mikee. Let's see. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Again, we just had Sports Desk basketball analyst na pinawisan, MikeeRreyes.